Hello again, everyone. USS KIDD coming to you, headed downriver, and we are passing the city of Donaldsonville right now. And just wanted to come to you for a moment and talk a little bit about a museum ship that used to live here, very briefly. The PELICAN, L-E and then Pelican, a French replica. She was built in Canada, and she was open in Montreal for touring for a long time, and eventually was sold and brought down to New Orleans by a businessman. I think he was up from New Jersey somewhere, and was up for restoration, being restored in New Orleans. I was fortunate enough to get to go on board during phase 2 of her restoration, 2 out of 3 phases, in New Orleans in 1997 with a group from the KIDD. A beautiful old warship replica. She's a replica of the original, the Pelican, which was the flagship of Iberville during one of the battles between the French and the British up around Canada. And Iberville eventually went on to become one of the founding fathers of Louisiana, he and his brother Bienville. And the replica of the Pelican, after phase 2 of her restoration was finished, the owner decided to back out. It was costing too much. And so he sold or gave away, either sold for a very low price or gave away the replica to the city of Donaldsonville. And Donaldsonville has a old Civil War fort, the Fort Butler, named after Benjamin Butler, General Benjamin Butler of the U.S. Army. And the levee system, when they built it back in the 20s or so, blew right through the fort and just took most of it out. But there's still a few remnants here and there. But the Fort Butler Foundation accepted it, and they were planning to open it as a museum ship here in Donaldsonville, Louisiana, downriver from the KIDD. And unfortunately, the river and knowledge of how the river works was not necessarily something everybody was 100% familiar with the organization. And because of changing river levels, and remember, the KIDD has a 40-foot difference in river levels between high and low water seasonally each year in Baton Rouge, further north. Down here in Donaldsonville, I'm not sure what the change of depth is, but it would be considerable. It would be similar to what we would have in Baton Rouge. And mooring lines were not slacked, and the Pelican ended up capsizing during high water at one point. They raised her, and then something similar happened a few years again down the road. So the reason I'm talking about this is, one, the Pelican was really great, but two, I'm talking about it because it's a perfect example that museum ships are not forever. Museum ships have to be maintained, they have to be curated and protected, they have to be funded. And the Pelican, unfortunately, was just a victim of a whole series of issues. But you go further north to St. Louis, and there was a World War II minesweeper, the inaugural, that ended up being swept away in a flood and slamming into one of the bridges at St. Louis and sank. And her hulk, her wreck, is still sitting over on the western shore of the Mississippi. You had a Soviet submarine up in Providence, Rhode Island that had the same problem. And in 2022, no less than 5 museum ships around the world sank completely or sank partially. So these old ships need love, they need affection, they need care. Just looking at it and going, that's cool. That doesn't help. You have to actually get out, you've got to volunteer, you've got to donate. A community really has to embrace their museum ship, because a museum that is not embraced by its community, that museum either moves elsewhere or that museum dies. And it doesn't have to be a museum ship. It can be your local children's museum, science museum, history museum, what have you. Little fact, museum factoid, did you know that all of the museums in the United States together, all of their attendance added up, every single person that walks through their door actually has a greater number of attendees than all professional sports, hockey, basketball, baseball, football, put together. As well, not done, as well as all amusement parks, Six Flags, all of that, Marvin Gardens, that sort of stuff. And here we go, here's the sucker punch, and Disney. Museums of all types in the United States have more attendance than all major league sporting teams, all amusement parks, including the Disney parks. And most of these museum ships don't get government assistance. So think about that and keep that in mind. And if you like your local museum ship, if you like the New Jersey, if you like LST 325, if you like Battleship Cove in Massachusetts, if you like the Ingham down in Key West, if you like the Texas, if you like the Kidd, if you like Midway, Hornet, Turner Joy, Cod, Cobia, any of the museum ships, if you like your museum ships in Europe or in Australia, be a part of their lives. Go visit them, make a donation, go volunteer, because museum ships are not forever. They are a relatively new invention. And they need your help and they need your love. So getting off my soapbox, getting back to the voyage, we are still making good headway. If you're following us on the marine trackers, you're going to look for the Crosby Integrity, or the Big Eddie, E-D-D-I-E. Those are the tugs accompanying us downstream. And I don't know if you can see it or not, but as we are passing Donaldsonville, let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. There's the Sunshine Bridge. We're going to have to round a bend and then come at the Sunshine Bridge, but that is our current location. And I cannot give you any ETAs. I'm sorry, I don't know. But if you're tracking us and you're using those marine trackers, they should be able to tell you when we get to Houma. Anybody got any questions? Where are we going on this wild ride? We are going to Houma, Louisiana, and ThomaSea Shipyards, specifically in Houma. We're going to get a little work done, a little touch up on the hull, where all the touch points have had some problems with the cradle in recent years. We're going to get her fixed up. Going to get a new paint job and do some restoration work down below. The interior. Going to do a lot of stuff. We've got two lists. We've got a needs list and we've got a wants list. And the needs list is what has to happen. And the state of Louisiana is very generously provided funding for the needs list. There's some more needs that we got to cover ourselves, but the wants list, there's a lot of stuff that we want to do that will keep us from having to kick the can down the road to the ship keepers that come behind us. We certainly don't want to do that. We want the guys that come behind us to go, you know, those guys really took good care of the ship. They could have shortchanged it. They could have just done the bare minimum, but they looked to the future. And that's what we want them to say about us. We want them to say that we left Kidd better than we found her. And no, I was not a Boy Scout. So, oh, I'm very sorry. I see in the comments, local museum ship was scrapped recently. Really disappointed, but sometimes they just weren't meant to be. Can you tell me what ship that was? I'm very curious now. Hulk Hogan, the American flag is on the aft stack on the battle gaff. I am pointing at the aft stack right now. That American flag is directly behind it. I'll try to get you a shot on a later live stream. Angela, thank you for following along with us. We're hoping for safe travels as well. As you can see, we've got our sheriff's boat in the water in front of us. They're following us down to the Sunshine Bridge, and then a new, let me get to where it's not trying to focus, a new sheriff's craft will pick up on us. There we go. Hulk, I don't know what to tell you, but the battle gaff was put where it was so that the American flag did not get shot up by the anti-aircraft back in the day. So that is the exact place that it should be for 1945, which is what the ship displays. KIDD is supposed to portray August 14th, 1945. You can see our searchlights here. Our searchlights are actually going to be taken off. We're going to do some work on them away from the ship and then bring them back and put them back on later. We'll be removing the 40 millimeters, the quads and the twins, and having work done on them elsewhere, as well as the whale boats. That sounded like I said whale as the whale boats. My southern accent stepping out. Apologies. I do have a commissioning pennant in the archives. Actually, I think we've got two, one from the 50s and one from the 40s, her original one. So we do not fly them from the ship because they are artifacts. They're very fragile. So we keep them under control in a climate-controlled environment. That sounds redundant, but you know what I mean. The Rogaland, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, from 1947. What type of ship was Rogaland? Be curious. Was she military? Was she civilian? I don't know if you guys can see it or not, but to me, the ship really looks empty. All the depth charges have been removed. All the World War II era life rafts have been removed. Anything that could be in the way of the work being done for dry docking has been removed, and anything that could potentially be a fire hazard. When we get to the shipyard, we'll be removing this canvas here. She was a coastal ferry. Well, I'm very sorry to hear that she's gone. I understand funding issues, but it still hurts to see one of these old ladies go away. Hopefully any other museum ships there in Norway will be safe for the while. Let's see, does KIDD still have her torpedo tubes? Yes, in fact, you can just barely see them peeking out from behind the aft stack there. I'll try to hold the camera as still as possible. See if I can zoom in a little bit. She has her aft torpedo tubes. The forward set was removed in 45 after the kamikaze hit, and the quad 40s were put in place of the torpedo tubes and the twin 40s that had previously been there. I am standing on the what do you call it? The platform, searchlight platform on the forward stack, incidentally. Say hello, Captain. And prior to the kamikaze attack, this little magazine deck house right here would not have been here. There would have been a set of torpedo tubes right where it sits. And instead of the quad 40s, that little platform that juts out with the quad 40s would have been smaller and farther aft, dead even with the aft stack, and a pair of twin 40s on either side of the stack would have been there. And on the stack itself would have been another platform similar to this that had the remote directors, which you can see here in this canvassed off area. Those directors would have been on a platform on the aft stack. After the kamikaze threat became something that the Navy was watching out for, any ships going into the shipyards any Fletchers going into the shipyards for repairs received this refit, just like KIDD did, and new construction coming out had greater emphasis on anti-aircraft rather than ship-to-ship, because the Japanese fleet, by and large, was staying close to port at that point. We have left Donaldsonville behind. I see All American Travels is following us. And we are rounding this point here to approach the Sunshine Bridge. Sunshine Bridge, by the way, if memory serves, is named, it was built under the administration of Governor Jimmy Davis. And Jimmy Davis was also a singer as well as a politician, and he had the big song, "You Are My Sunshine, My Only Sunshine." And he had a beautiful horse that he liked to ride around on, and the horse's name was Sunshine. Hello, Mark. You can see some grain silos coming up. Hulk, I hope that answered your question about torpedo tubes. I hope I didn't just run on at the mouth for that. I have not passed the Sunshine Bridge yet. No, that's going to be coming up. We've got to make this turn and then snake back over to where the Sunshine Bridge is. How much depth does the KIDD have right now between her hull and ground bottom? I do not know that answer right now. That would be a question for the guys on the tugs, and I am not in contact with them. The salvage master would be, but I am not in direct contact, so I apologize. I do not have that answer for you. Something that almost nobody asks about, these little fan antennas that you see to either side of the forward stack are actually part of our electronic countermeasures suite. And if you look just past the aft stack, you'll see a small mast sticking up right behind, or right in front of rather, Mount 45. And you see two little mushroom objects on the top of it. That's our ECM mast, electronic countermeasures. And all of these together for World War II, it's not like the countermeasures we have now. For World War II, essentially, it was essentially white noise, just broadcasting white noise to confuse any radar sets that might be honing in on the KIDD. Will we be selling new merchandise to raise more funds you'd like to support? Well, thank you very much for wanting to support us, Hulk. We appreciate that. We will be putting out new merchandise. We have right now a new t-shirt in the store at USSKIDD.com, and it's basically a tour shirt, like you go to a concert. The back side of it shows all of KIDD's engagements throughout World War II. And then I'm wearing a shirt, and let's see if I can, I'm far enough away from the water. I should be able to take my life jacket open for just a second and let you see that. God forbid that you see my ugly mug, but let's see if I can show you the shirt. So the shirt, moving crew, and on the back side it talks about Houma. So get away from my mug. There we go. So there will be something similar being produced, I'm told. Don't hold me to it because I'm not the one making it, but something similar to this moving crew shirt that the store will be selling as a fundraiser as well. And like the USS Texas, we are saving scrap metal from the work on the hull so that we can offer that to artisans and see what interesting things that they can make. All American Travels, where on the levee will you be standing in a little while? Wayne Saunders, hello Wayne. Good. Kidd family, Kidd crew member family there. Hope you don't lose power either, Mark. That's always frustrating. Now here's an interesting site. Don't ask me what it is, but it's big. It's got to be some kind of refinery of some sort. Maybe we've left the Mississippi and we're in Vegas, because that looks like the Sphere. Definitely a port facility for some sort of plant or refinery. Wayne, there are a lot of Kidd crew members that I wish were still around that could see this. They would be tickled pink. And probably mad at me because they weren't riding. But I didn't have any control over it, so. Let's see. Somewhere between the Sunshine Bridge and the Gramercy Bridge. Yeah, that's a wide area. Oh, you're from Massachusetts. All right. Oren Bordelon, 10.8 knots earlier, booking it. Oren has had a lot of involvement in getting this old girl ready for this tow. He and Nathan Bergeron are known by the Kidd crew as B&B. Team B&B went around the ship this summer and this past spring, sealing up the deck houses. And by that, I mean the deck houses, a lot of them are aluminum, and where they meet the steel, you have bimetallic corrosion, galvanic corrosion, where one metal steals electrons from the next. And as a result, you get rust and you get holes rotted into the structure. And they went around in the middle of the spring humidity and heat and the summer heat and humidity, and they cut out the bad metal. They put new steel in where the old steel had rotted out. They took Teflon and folded it over the steel runner where it impacted the aluminum. They took rivets, steel rivets. They put a sheath around the shaft of the rivet, a sheath of Teflon. They put a washer made of Teflon against the head of the rivet, and then they stuck it all together. And that organic barrier, believe it or not, is going to reduce the amount of electron loss, electron transfer, so that, like we said earlier, we don't want the guys coming behind us to go, man, they really took a shortcut, they screwed us. We don't want that. We want them to say, wow, they actually took the extra time and effort to make the Kidd better. And Oren is one of those people. Hulk, the Mississippi at this point is fresh water. We have to get down really close to the mouth to start getting fresh water, to start getting salt water. Sorry about that. Molly Bollinger, another one of our team members. Molly is part of our documentary team that is documenting, is the right word? Documenting this journey, getting ready for the trip, doing the trip, doing the shipyard work, and then coming back again. So Molly, you're stuck with us. You're not going anywhere for a while. It's not allowed. We don't have you under contract, but you're just not allowed. We'll guilt you. Talk about the Pirate for a moment. This is not Kidd's original Pirate. As you can see, he's bolted on. This is a sheet of aluminum, and yes, we did the same thing. Hank Doty, if he's out there listening, Hank Doty, the attachment holes on the stack, Hank drilled out, put some rubber attachment points in there and rubber washers in between the aluminum and the stack, and also between the screws and the stack. And that way we didn't have any corrosion resulting from putting the Pirate up. The The original pirate was painted directly onto the stack, and of course, it went away after World War II, or during World War II, came back, and then went away again when Korea came up, and it was gone until she got back to Baton Rouge, and they decided to make her restoration center on August 14th, 1945. And at that point, they made the decision, we're going to attach the pirate. That way we can bring it down, we can touch it up, you don't have to scaffold or anything. And it's had several different iterations. When I first started working at the KIDD, he looked like a terrified Peter Pan. He had a big open mouth, like he can see the kamikaze coming at him, and he's just screaming in terror. And I don't know who painted it, but I always refer to it as the terrified pirate. When that one began going away, we got a nice lady in Port Allen, Louisiana, and her name escapes me, and I apologize for that if she's watching. She took and painted this design of pirate based off of photographs of the time. And our crew members came for one last visit in the early 2000s and said, this is the closest you've ever gotten to our pirate. Never lose this design. So about 2014, he started looking really shabby. The weather was getting to him. He'd sat through too many hurricanes. He almost flew away at one point during a hurricane. And we started looking around, and a young lady named Molly Mankins, not Molly Bollinger, who I was just talking about, but Molly Mankins, came to our attention through one of our staff members. She came and looked at it, and she agreed she could touch it up. And she did a wonderful job, and we remounted it in 2018 during our fall field day, and there's a matching one on the other side of the forward stack. At the same time, we cut out 2 more forms, aluminum forms, to have spares with, and unfortunately we have not been able to get back to those. So these are the pirates we have at the moment, and they will be coming down during the yard period because we do not want to lose this design. But the pirate, we're really proud of. He's lasted a good while, and we're excited that the crew members liked this this design, that we got so close to what it's supposed to be. Let's see. Oh, All-American, you're going to get me in trouble. You converted your Sullivan's model to the KIDD, complete with this version of the pirate. Okay, my apologies, Shane. I had nothing to do with that. Nobody at the Sullivans called me up and hit me. I apologize. It was not my idea. Because of the thin hull, how long can the KIDD go before the next dry dock? Well, I have to say, the soundings that they have taken show that the fresh water of the Mississippi versus saltwater environment many of our sisters are in, and the cradle, with her being out of the water about half the year, a quarter of the year, depending on what the weather is like each year, has resulted in not a lot of degradation on the hull. I know we still have a ½ inch in a couple of different areas that I've seen, which was very surprising to me and very pleasing to me. So hopefully that's what they're going to find all through the hull as they go through, that the fresh water and being out of the water has really, really helped us. That being the case, the real trouble spots for us, the reason we're going, is because of the touch points, because you can never get to those the way our cradle is designed. It's concrete, and if you put the type of blocks you have in a dry dock, the current of the Mississippi will just wash them away. Good question, Hulk. Wayne, I agree. It looks cool. It looks like the props are actually turning, and we're underway ourselves without the tugs. Thomas, we have just passed Donaldsonville, Louisiana, on the west bank, and we are, now we can see it real well, we are approaching the Sunshine Bridge. So hopefully that gives you something to look for on your maps. So one thing that we are planning for her paint job after she gets out of dry dock, or maybe while she's in dry dock, I don't know what order the shipyard's going to take it in. That's all up to them. We are going to step away from the 1945 Measure 22. I believe Texas is moving over to that. I'm not sure on that though. You'd have to ask Travis and company. But we're stepping away from the Measure 22 that we have worn for 41 years. And we are going to paint KIDD in her, I want to say it's Measure 31 or Measure 32 10D, which is basically a dazzle type camouflage. And we're going to do that for about the lifespan of the paint, which should be 5-6 years. And we'll talk about the differences between Measure 22 and the dazzle camouflage types. Measure 22 hides the ship. As you can see, that blue blend, that blue tint in the haze gray blends in with the blue tint of the sky. And then you can't see it the Mississippi River because it's nasty brown, but the blue of the deck, the horizontal surfaces, should blend in with the water around it if we're out at sea. The dazzle does not do that. It does not even attempt to hide the ship. Instead, what it does is it confuses targeting for gunnery, for torpedoes, what have you. You can't tell if the ship is moving forward or backward. You can't tell the distance or the shape of it. It just confuses the eye from a distance. And so that is something that we're going to be teaching for the next 5 years, 6 years. And then from there, we're going to push even further back to 1943 and her original paint scheme, and the number escapes me at the moment. I want to say it's 20, not 21. I don't remember what it is. I'm not going to say what number it is because I don't know, but she was all blue. And we'll have that for about 5 or 6 years, and then we are going to rotate back around and come back to Measure 22. So KIDD will be having a different look for a few years as we rotate through those camo schemes, and ultimately we'll be coming back to what is appropriate for our 1945 configuration. So model builders, ship enthusiasts out there, don't beat us up that we've got the wrong camouflage scheme on for the next decade or so. It's all part of an educational effort, and we will be coming back to Measure 22 just like we started with, and be true to our target date. Let's see, let me catch up on some questions. She's in Measure 21. Thank you, All-American. Somebody answered. Hold on. Amanda, I don't know 100% for certain. It's possible we're going straight through. It's possible there may be a stop. That's a decision based on whatever the tow master and the salvage master decide. I have no control over that, and so I do not know the answer for that. Wayne, thank you very much for that. We appreciate that. Make sure before you come to reach out to curator at USSKIDD.com. Let him know that you're coming and what you're bringing. That way he'll be prepared. There you go, Michael. Come early and come often. Captain Joseph just swung around so they can tag along with us. It's funny watching some of the folks on the river, seeing the ship come by, and they swing relatively close, but as you can see, Captain Joseph's keeping his distance, or keeping her distance. But just to take a good look at her and see what's going on. You can see we've got some traffic coming downstream toward us. Amanda, I don't know if it would be Saturday or not, but I would not bet on it. I would bet that we're going to be passing a little bit earlier than that. But again, I'm not in charge of the voyage. I am here just for my expertise with the ship to make it a little bit easier for the salvage crew. That's the only reason I'm on board. And I think this is going to be where we lose the East Baton Rouge Sheriff's flotilla boat that has been with us. They have been awesome friends all through the years. Whenever we have driftwood that gets lodged up on the mooring dolphins and gets stuck between them and the Kidd's hull, I send a text to our good friend Dale Armature and say, hey Daryl, when you swing by this way, can y'all help us out with this, and send him a picture. And sure enough, they come out with booms and ropes and they drag that stuff off of us and get it clear of the ship. And that's another big help for us, because the minute we have any motorized vessels ourselves, the insurance premiums go up for the museum. So having assistance like that on the river from people like McKinney and Barrett and the East Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's Flotilla really comes through. A big shout out to all of the flotilla team and to Sheriff Sid Gotro for allowing them to do that. They use it as training, of all things, of how to maneuver their boats and how to do that sort of stuff. They help with that sort of stuff all through the Port of Baton Rouge. Got a nice little dirt dauber blue push boat going by, or maybe that's white. I think it's white. My sunglasses are probably turning it blue. Yeah. So a nice little white tug going by. Looks like a fuel barge. And we're coming up on Sunshine. After Sunshine, I'm going to shut it down for a little while. Go recharge my phone. It's amazing how much 37 minutes of live streaming will drain your cell phone battery. And I have to keep this phone active, so that's why I'm not just doing it constantly. All American. The Coast Guard is not currently with us, but they will be joining us at a certain point a little bit later on. Like I said, EBR is going to be handing off patrol duties here to another parish flotilla. There are parish sheriff's office flotillas all up and down the Mississippi River, because the ports between Baton Rouge and New Orleans make up one of the busiest corridors in the nation. And these guys are out there. They're trained not only for anti-terrorist and for boarding actions, but just to assist vessels, barge or deep water vessels, as they make the transit northward. Baton Rouge, by the way, is the farthest point north that an ocean-going vessel can go, because US Highway 190 was built low enough to stop riverine traffic, deep water traffic, from going up into Mississippi, because Governor Huey Long did not want the dreaded Mississippians getting all that revenue from port facilities. He wanted it all for Louisiana. And he talked them into building the bridge as low as he did, so that all that would stop and transfer to barges. You'd have the tariffs, you'd have the barge fees, the refueling fees, port fees, etc., all in Louisiana. And here we go, going under. No chance of us hitting, but it is neat to look up and see. Goodbye, sunshine. And that's our friends from EBR. They are headed home, and we are headed onward. Thanks for joining us for this segment. We'll see you a little bit further downstream.